Alright, let's finish up this chapter, shall we? Let's talk about types of microphones yet again. This time we're going to talk about the physical types of microphones. Mics meant for handheld use are, of course, small enough to be easily held. They tend to be durable and able to reject handling noise. So you can swing it around, you can do loop-de-loops with it, and hopefully, as long as you don't beat it up against the wall or something like that. And please don't do a mic drop, as cool as it seems to want to do. Don't do that. You'll mess the microphone up that way. But handheld mics are generally pretty strong, rugged microphones. Mics intended for studio use are usually mounted on a stand or a boom. They are generally larger than handheld mics, and they're generally more sensitive, but they also generally tend to have better frequency response and are more crisp and clear in picking up the voice. Headset mics offer hands-free operation and are useful in radio for especially things like sports play-by-play or doing special events where there's a large crowd and things like that. They reject noise that surrounds the announcer because the microphone's right there in front of the announcer's mouth, and it's concentrated on picking up just that audio. A lavalier microphone is usually clipped to a person's clothing and is frequently worn by anchors on television news programs. Also used a lot of times, especially the wireless lavalier mics, used by people that are doing different types of presentations. Shotgun microphones are used for long-range pickup in television and film. They have used it in field situations where they can be used to focus in on specific sounds and noisy locations as well. So this makes it really good if you're trying to work a crowd and get sound from one particular source. Boundary microphones, sometimes known as PZM or pressure zone microphones, they're a form of condenser mic that is essentially omnidirectional, pretty much picks up sound from anywhere in the room. The microphone design makes it flat and easy to mount on a table or a wall without being too obtrusive. A lot of times you'll find these type of microphones in a boardroom situation. Some mics can be used for both studio and handheld use. Condenser mics of this type are called modular microphones. They also allow you to change the pickup capsule, varying its potential usage. So it can function as a bidirectional mic, an omnidirectional mic, a cardioid mic, whatever you need at that particular moment. A lot of podcasting mics tend to have this ability to give the podcaster a little more versatility without having to have a lot of microphones at his or her disposal. Selection and use of a microphone. If you have the luxury to be able to choose your mic, when we're talking about radio situations, you generally don't have a lot of choice. You basically have whatever's in the studio. But if you are, making your own studio, wanting to have different applications, you've got some flexibility of mic use, some things to keep in mind. You want to choose what type of mic you're going to want, whether it's a handheld mic, a studio mic, something on a boom, what have you. You want to choose based on the pickup pattern of the microphone. Do you want to isolate sounds and get just one specific source, or do you want to pick up multiple sources? That's going to make you choose between a cardioid versus a bidirectional versus an omnidirectional. Selection by element. Do you have access to phantom power? If so, a condenser microphone might be good for you. If you don't, then you have the moving coil microphone or the ribbon microphone, but also keep in mind the weaknesses of each of those. If you're choosing by frequency response, this would be something for people that are looking for sound pickup in a particular range. An extremely high quality microphone with responses as high as 20,000 hertz. They're useful in music recording because of the wide response for example. Again, something where if you want to pick up lower sounds, you want to make sure it has a good frequency response in those lower hertz ranges. Curve shape. A mic with a bump in the responsive curve up around the consonant frequencies makes speech more understandable. However, you don't need that speech bump in a mic intended purely for music recording. So are you going to be using the microphone for music performance or for spoken word? That's going to be a factor. Some mics have what's called a bass roll-off to compensate for the proximity effect. In other words, they de-emphasize the bass. That might be helpful for someone that has a particularly low range, that you don't want them to have that much of a proximity effect. Selection by the mic's personality. This is the final consideration. This is basically a personal preference thing where the characteristics of a particular microphone has a certain appeal to an individual. And that's something where if you have someone that in particular is an audiophile, they may look at certain things or test certain things out in a certain way. But the thing of it is that many microphones are going to pick up different people in different ways. And sometimes it may even be counterintuitive as to what the best microphone is for a particular person. So, in the end, you may just want to do some trial and error. A little bit of a guide for you in the textbook if it's something that you'd like some tips and tricks on. Take a look at pages 47 and 48. It may help you out. It's extremely important that you monitor your voice through headphones whenever possible. Simply monitoring your levels on a VU meter will not tell you if you're popping your P's, speaking off the mic's axis. You want to be able to hear what is going on, and you want to be able to hear things the way that other people are going to hear you. We hear ourselves differently in our own heads, in our own bodies, compared to what the rest of the world hears. So listening through a headset is very important to help us to know exactly what is going on during a recording session or a live performance. The proper distance for speaking into a studio or handheld mic ranges from about 6 to 12 inches, but there's not really a set rule. Basically, most people will start off at around 6 inches and then do tests with the microphone, speaking in the voice that they plan to use during their performance, and kind of go from there. The only real hard and fast guideline is to work at a reasonable distance based on what sounds correct for a particular speaker and a particular microphone, and the way that we by and large will judge that is making sure that we're keeping a watch on that VU meter to make sure that we are getting the optimum loudness, as close to 0 VU as we possibly can without going over. Finally, get to know mic connection types. Even if you don't plan on building your own studios or messing around with connecting and disconnecting equipment, know that there are differences in the way that studios are set up and mics are set up. Know what the difference is between an XLR, which is a typical microphone cable that has 3 small prongs at the end of the cable to connect to a sound system. 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch plugs. 1/8 inch is typically what you're going to see on many smart devices. 1/4 inch are bigger, obviously. And then USB connectivity, especially with podcast microphones. These are going to help you to be able to connect a microphone direct into your computer, if that is what you're looking to do. There's also consoles that have USB connectivity to be able to work multiple devices and send that into a PC. So there you have it. There is Chapter 3. You know what to do at this point. Complete those study questions and the notes. Get those turned in. Complete the questionnaire before we get together for class. And, let's see what we can figure out about microphones. I will tell you, as far as A lot of the sciencey stuff, if it grooves with you, great. But basically just understand some of the principles about relation of sound to distance and how that may affect your recording. Know the different pickup patterns of microphones. That's very important, so that you know how to approach a microphone when you're in the studio, or what microphone to use in what situation. We'll talk about the essentials when we get together, but we'll also answer your questions. So I look forward to talking with you.